We have the destination for the Diamond Balls. Tennessee baseball team is in the NCAA Super Regionals for the third straight year, and they'll hit the road to try to get into the College World Series. They're going to Hattiesburg, Mississippi for a 3-game Super Regional series against Southern Miss. Series will begin on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Game 1 will be broadcast on ESPNU. Game 2 will take place on Sunday, yet to be determined time. If necessary, the decisive Game 3 will be held on Monday, June the 12th. Thoughts on Tennessee being on the road?
Well, shout out to Caleb Jaru, who was on here earlier. He has posted about this. All the analytical data when comparing teams shows Tennessee should be hosting over Southern Miss.
This is about last year.
It's about it's about a few things. It's about last year, but also Southern Miss has about 1,000 more seats than Lindsey Nelson Stadium, so they feel like they can make more money with Southern Miss hosting. And Southern Miss head coach Scott Berry's retiring at the end of the year. I think that's what this is about.
Okay. Well, first, it shouldn't be determined on venue. Sorry.
No.
Just it shouldn't. Second, it certainly shouldn't be determined on a guy retiring. That to me, I'm not arguing with you, and this isn't a knock against you, Caleb, but those are both stupid reasons. I mean,
they're terrible reasons.
Yeah.
But Tennessee has learned, I don't know if you remember this, the year Tennessee beat Florida in the Swamp and lost to LSU in football, Florida got the BCS wildcard invite over Tennessee that year. And the reason that happened was because of the 2 years before when Tennessee played Nebraska in the Fiesta Bowl. I don't know if you remember that game, Dave. Nebraska way outperformed Tennessee in terms of their fan bases at that game. Tennessee did not fill the stadium because they were upset about not being in the national championship game again. And it was like 3/4 Nebraska fans at that game.
Which game are we talking about?
The Fiesta Bowl the year after the national championship game.
Yeah, I was at that game. Saw that was Y2K. Saw Billy Idol perform as the clock struck midnight into 2000.
So did it look the way it sounded? Was it overwhelmingly Nebraska fans there?
Yeah, I don't remember it being. That's been a long time ago. I don't remember it being overwhelming, but I remember that clearly that Nebraska had the advantage. If I had a dive into the memory banks, I'd say 60-40, 70-30, which is that's pretty close to overwhelming, especially considering Tennessee travels so well. My issue with this is that it seems almost as if, I don't like really the way NCAA baseball is run. I'll say that I think they do things where they overthink things for publicity's sake. You mentioned the Big 12 commissioner. He's doing some different things. I got respect for what he does. I feel like that NCAA baseball should be on that point. It should be beyond having to schedule someplace for 1,000 more tickets. It should be beyond having to schedule someplace because it's a coach's last year at the program and he's about to step down. This to me should be more about fairness. We would be absolutely up in arms if this were a similar situation in the NCAA basketball tournament, right? I mean, we would be
absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is going to happen, by the way, with the college football playoff, the expanded playoff. There's going to be so much politicking over who gets to play a home game that first weekend.
It's a great point, because would you rather let's say Tennessee and Cincinnati are, just for instance, the matchup. Would you rather have a home game at Neyland Stadium or a home game at Cincinnati?
Yeah,
so that's
it would be at
happen.
Neyland.
Yeah, and it's going to benefit Tennessee and the big SEC schools more than not. But in this particular case with baseball, it doesn't benefit Tennessee. As a matter of fact, it hurts Tennessee. And I think that's incredibly disappointing. I'm okay with a little politicking in football because I do believe that the better team wins in football. Curious if you agree with this. More times than any other sport. The better team wins in football more than any other sport. Right?
Yes, there's less randomness in football than any other sport by far.
Right. You don't get a dominant goalie. You don't get a dominant pitcher. You don't get a hot 3-point shooting team in other sports. Hockey, baseball, and
hockey is random in general.
Yeah, one guy can get hot in the Stanley Cup playoffs at goalie, and it's over. I mean,
Yep.
they could even sweep. So but to me, this is still a factor. It's a huge factor in baseball. I think that having the fans on your side is a big factor. And if Southern Miss ends up winning the series, kudos to them. But you're not going to be able to tell me at the end of the day it wasn't partly because it was at home.
Yeah. Well, and I get people would say how Tennessee behaved last year. The morality of it maybe made the committee want Southern Miss to host. The only reason I don't buy that as much is that from a morality perspective, Southern Miss may be the most unpopular school in the nation right now. I mean, this is the school that stole welfare money in Mississippi to build a volleyball stadium on behalf of Brett Favre.
Yeah, I think Brett Favre was a part of that as well. To me, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a college football phenom, that I know, college baseball expert. Maybe Southern Miss is a great place to have a game. Tennessee, I know, is a great place to have a game based off what we saw last year, right? I mean, all eyes were on that Notre Dame series.
True. I agree. It's a much better place. But, again, I mean, look, we know this. Lindsey Nelson is about to undergo some renovations, right? Because they need new work done. And maybe Southern Miss is just in. I mean, again, when you're stealing from the state's welfare funds, you could probably build some nice stadiums. So maybe the baseball stadium was nicer too.
Portions of the program brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Over 50 years in business, cityheatandair.com. They are awesome. So certainly check them out. You will love them. And maybe your unit doesn't need to be replaced, just a part or some coolant. That's cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. 50 years of service in East Tennessee.